Welcome to another edition of the Big Fantastic Show. As per usual, myself, Mr. Fantastic, and Big Mike himself. Welcome to the show, Mr. Big Mike.
Absolutely fantastic, Mr. Fantastic, as usual.
As usual. Tonight, we're going to elaborate on a previous episode that we had called Are Leaders Born or Are They Created?
So I remember we had a very different take on it. I said that leaders are born and you said leaders were created.
And of that discussion, we were prompted by our viewers to unpack that a little bit more to understand if you are a born leader or a created leader.
So I still believe that leaders are born, but I understand your point of view. I know we had a backdoor discussion on this, and we had some prompts, as you said, from the listeners that actually leaders are created. So there might be a combination of both, don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it is totally that. It's a combination of both, and it is on which side you develop the most that will bring forth your style of leadership.
So let me just try and make that clear. So if you were born into a situation, let's say you were born into royalty, you'd automatically be thrust in a leadership profile or situation, and then obviously you assume that leadership role. Whereas most of us, I suppose, we go through and we develop our leadership abilities as we go through life.
Absolutely. You, as you said, you're thrust in a situation based on your background and the expectation that's laid upon you. So most people become a servant, manager, and ultimately, hopefully, graduate to a leader.
Yeah. So, also a question is, how do we distinguish leaders? I mean, when do you become a leader? Because I understand that when you are kind of going through your cycle of development as sort of moving towards leadership as such, we find ourselves developing the sort of experience and the skills, the education, and we develop personally in terms of our temperament and our character, so that you move from the beginning stages as fairly unskilled person to supervisory level manager, and you then obviously bring those skill sets forward when you're developing your team, and in terms of transferring that knowledge and guiding your team in terms of mentoring and coaching.
That's exactly. I think you have unpacked it very nicely. The main thing here is that you will always, as you develop, you are expected to manage system, right. Manage procedures, manage policies, etc., etc. All with very good guidelines. But at some point in the organization, you come to a level where it's about motivation, about values, about a selfless leadership style, upbringing and upbuilding the people around you, where it's expected of you not to be a manager anymore, but to be a leader of people. And that's a difficult transition, I believe.
It is. I suppose you need a good support system for that. One of the listeners actually sent in a mail and said that leadership, leaders' responsibility when you're moving from that manager to leadership figurehead as such, but the leadership's responsibility is to develop leaders. I feel a bit different about that. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I don't think that the total responsibility is to develop leaders or develop people. I think it's more about allowing the space for a comprehensive development of the individual. Because you could sit with employees that doesn't necessarily fit into the organization. It doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to become great leaders in other areas or other businesses. So I think it's more about allowing the space and having the skill set to understand and analyze employees individually, so that you know who you can deal with in which way.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me, of course. It's really to identify or appreciate the whole work,
Appreciate. Yeah.
the whole workforce on an individual basis, and then allowing the space, as you say, to tap into and just unleashing the full potential of that individual. And that's what it's about. It's about bringing out the potential and then using that potential in alignment with your with your expectations as well as the individual's expectations. So, great discussion. I'd like for the viewers to obviously continue engaging with us. We are available. The details are at the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
Please feel free to give us a call, send an email, and as well as contact us on Facebook or via our website. All the details are at the bottom. We are there, available for you to engage, to facilitate. Give us a shout and see how we can facilitate your staff to better leadership. We'll chat to you then.